have some lovely people back that way that are doing voter registration. If you want to register to vote, or if you want to switch your party, anything along those lines, please visit the lovely people back there. Go see Linda, please. Our next speaker is a psychologist or psychiatrist. Psychologist, which is up my alley. We have Karlyn, Borysenko, everybody.
Hello, 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 hello. All right. So, guys, let me tell you something. This was not a part of my life plan. It was not. I was I had an organizational psychologist. I had a quiet little practice. I was working with businesses. I was doing my thing. And if you had told me a year ago that I would be speaking at a Walkaway rally, I would have laughed in your face and told you you were insane and were in desperate need of my services. I gotta tell you what. But, you know, because here's the thing. I'm from Vermont, okay? I'm from Vermont, the land of hippie liberals and Ben and Jerry's and Bernie Sanders. And I'll tell you what, there has actually never been a moment in my entire life in which Bernie Sanders was not in political office, not for my entire life. And so when I reached 18 years old, of course, I registered as a Democrat. This was a no-brainer. It just made sense to me. And 20 years later, I'm not a Democrat anymore. And so here's a little bit about my story. So I have voted for Bernie Sanders in every election in which I was able to vote for Bernie Sanders. In fact, to this day, I have never voted for someone except Bernie Sanders who was not a Democrat. That will change in November for the first time. And so how did I get here? How did I go on this journey from voting for Bernie in 2016 and then plugging my nose and voting for Hillary? Because Hillary, of course, was the lesser of two evils in the face of the racist, misogynist, homophobe that was Donald Trump. How did I go from there to being at this Walkaway rally right now? Well, I gotta tell you, it all started with knitting. Knitting, of all things. Yes, the thing you do with the yarn and the two needles. I know when I say knitting, you guys think of old ladies kind of gathered around, gossiping and drinking tea and all that stuff, but that's actually not what the knitting world is doing right now. They're on Instagram, they're on Ravelry, they're sharing their pictures of their projects and all that stuff. Well, about a year and a half ago, social justice invaded my knitting community, my quiet, peaceful hobby that was keeping me sane. And what they started doing was going around and bullying and mobbing people that they disagreed with for even the slightest infraction. And what did I witness when the progressive left invaded my crafting community? I saw good people who had done nothing wrong have their reputations destroyed. I saw good people who had done nothing wrong have their businesses destroyed. And I saw one person, a gay man, a minority in the knitting community, actually admit himself to the hospital on suicide watch because he was bullied by the social justice mob so badly. And as I was watching this play out right in front of me, I realized that these were people that I had politically aligned myself with. And that was the moment. That was the moment where I started to wake up, and I challenged myself to start listening to voices that I thought I would disagree with. The very first video that I watched was a Walkaway town hall from New York City with Brandon Strzok and Mikey Harlow and all the others. And as I watched this town hall, convinced I would disagree with what they had to say, I started realizing that they sounded a lot like me. They were saying things like me, and this was a surprise because Rachel Maddow on MSNBC had told me, she was very, very confident that Walkaway was fake. Walkaway was just a bunch of Russian bots. It wasn't real. Real people were not walking away from the Democratic Party. Well, I started meeting more and more. I started meeting people who were more liberal like I am. Like, guys, I'm not a conservative. I'm sorry, I know that disappoints some people. I'm not a conservative. I still hold liberal values.
It's okay, we still like you.
Yes. Well, and that's exactly it, because here's the thing. As I went on this journey, my big graduation exercise was going to a Trump rally in Manchester, New Hampshire, the day before the New Hampshire primary. And I have to tell you, I was scared. I was, because what I've been told by MSNBC for years is Trump supporters were racist and deplorables, and even all my liberal friends were like, Karlyn, don't do it. They're going to harass you. I kid you not, someone even offered me her pepper spray to take with me to the rally just in case those deplorables got out of line, but I said, no, I declined. I said, I'm going anyway. And as I stood in that very long line, those of you who've been to a Trump rally know, you gotta get there hours early, you stand in a very long line. I started talking to people, and I didn't see a Nazi, I didn't see any white supremacists, there was not a Klan robe in sight. What I did see were school teachers. I met veterans. I met small business owners. Regular, everyday people who were good people who just had different ideas than me on how to run the country. And so the next day I was sitting in my office and I was trying to do work and I could not get this experience out of my head, and I wrote an article about it. And I never thought anyone would really read that article except for a couple of my lefty friends, and I kind of wanted to stick it to them a little bit. And a week later, 3.3 million people had read the article. And I gotta tell you that and in that article, all I said was Trump supporters are not bad people. They're not Nazis. They're good people. That was all I said. I did not say to vote for Trump. I didn't even know who I was voting for at that point. And I gotta tell you, I experienced the loving, tolerant left from that article like I have never experienced them before. They came after me. They attacked me personally. They tried to destroy a business that I'd spent 8 years of my life building that had nothing to do with politics. And that moment, I was like, wait. This is not okay. And now we're seeing that. We're seeing that play out all over the country. We're seeing that in Portland, where they're trying to burn down the federal courthouse, and the city is doing nothing to stop them. We saw that in Seattle, where they took over a 6-block radius to create their little commune. We're seeing that in Minnesota, where they have abolished the police. Have you ever heard of something so insane in your life? And I gotta tell you, like, for me, this election, I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for. Listen, I know a lot of people up here obviously have their choices. I think you guys can infer who I'm gonna be casting my ballot for. But for me, this is not actually an election between Democrats and Republicans. This is not even an election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is an election deciding between an authoritarian government that wants to control what you can say, what you can think, and what shows you can watch, and what ideas you can consider. And a government that allows you to think for yourself and to make your own decisions. A lot of us, we don't agree on everything, right? We don't agree on everything, but what I think we can all agree on is that individual liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, all of these are essential to our way of life in this country, and that is what is in jeopardy right now. That is the decision we're making. The rest of it, we can hash those differences out later. Because you know what? If we can maintain those liberties, then we're going to be able to have discussions and dialogues. Without those liberties, we cannot have those conversations. So everyone's going to think really hard about what type of country you want to live in. Do you want to live in the Chaz in Seattle? No. Do you want to live in Portland? No. I don't either. Yeah, it costs too much to live there anyway. That's exactly right. Now everything's spray painted and things are rioting all the time. No, that is the decision that we are making. So you all know you have to contribute to this to make this happen. Like Brandon says, like Mikey says, we have got to start showing up. We have got to start speaking up. We have got to stop being afraid of what might happen. Listen, a lot of the people you've seen here already today have been canceled. I've been canceled. Mike Harlow's been canceled. We've all been canceled to some respect or another. And believe me when I tell you, it's not that bad. Because you know what? As I found out after I went to that Trump rally and wrote my article, there are a lot of you, and you guys have a lot of love. There are people who have your back. Support each other, defend each other, show up when you have these rallies. show up every time. It doesn't matter. We've got to start expressing ourselves, and we've got to start speaking up against the insanity that's going on the left. All right, guys, that's all I've got. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you.
Give it up for Karlyn, Borysenko.